Okay, you're live. Hi everyone.
Hi everyone.
Okay, so we will just wait for a couple of minutes because some people just registered a few minutes ago, so Lauren is sending them emails.
Yes, let me just send this now to the last couple of people.
By the way, some people told me that it's their birthday today, so happy birthday to everyone celebrating.
Okay, the final invite links have been sent.
Yeah, let's wait for like 2 more minutes and then we can start.
Okay.
So we cannot actually see you guys, so there are some messages here. Oh my god.
Excited for the webinar, joined an hour earlier. Wow, that's real dedication. Aman, well done. We can't hear you. Someone anonymous has just asked. So you can't actually unmute your microphone. I think it says that you can, but you can't. So we can't hear anything you say. So you just have to write in the Q&A session if you have questions, because otherwise we'd have thousands of people talking at the same time.
Oh, I should have taken my Cern mug. Oh, well. Somebody also joined 30 minutes earlier.
So someone has just asked if a recording will be available. The answer is yes, it should be. Teams automatically records live events, so it should be in the same area that you've just come to. Once the event is over, you should be able to rewatch it there.
Okay, Salim asked to explain things a bit slower because of the English. We will try. The thing is that we have so much to cover. We are planning to do this webinar for like an hour, and then we will have a Q&A session for whoever wants to stay. So we'll try to speak slowly, but we need to cover everything. So yeah, we'll try our best. If something is not clear, you can always ask questions and we will answer at the end. Okay, so shall we start?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so as you know, we are here to discuss with you student opportunities at CERN. For those who don't know me, I'm Milena. I had several positions, student positions at CERN, and at the moment I'm Marie Curie Fellow. So most of the people that came from my Instagram account also don't know all the positions that I went through, so I'll explain that as well. We will also give you some tips, and we really hope this is going to be super useful for you. And yeah, I'm joined here with Lauren. So Lauren, I will just put you onto the screen so that you can introduce yourself. Okay, you're live. You just have to know.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lauren. Some of you might have also come here from my Instagram. We've been promoting this quite a lot via Instagram. I am working on the Lhcb experiment at CERN, so I'm a high energy physicist, and I'm working in rare decays. And yeah, I'm doing my PhD at the moment. I'm in my final year of my PhD, so I'm going to be talking after Milena a bit about routes into CERN via universities and institutions rather than applying to CERN directly.
Okay, I will now share my desktop, and I hope everyone can see it. Can just somebody respond in the chat if you can see this? And Lauren, you just confirm because I don't see the chat right now.
I can definitely see it.
Okay. Can you just check in the chat? Someone can please respond that you see this.
Someone has said yes, so I think we're good.
Okay, perfect. So one thing that we have to emphasize at the very beginning is that this is not official CERN presentation. So this is just Lauren and me deciding to do something for you for free, so that you can just gain as much as information as possible. We will give more information that you would get usually from like CERN, and we do hope it's going to be super useful to you. So I will just say a few things about myself first. So I started my journey into physics by hating it. I was told when I was 12 that physics is not for me, so I never studied it. I despised my physics lectures. I didn't like having exams in physics, and it was a mandatory class, so that didn't make things easier for me. But when I was 16, I actually read that by increasing the energy of a proton, you can increase its mass. And I thought that was a huge lie. So what I did is that I tried to prove newspapers wrong. I went to the library, I started reading about physics and discovered CERN. I also discovered that E equals mc squared and that Einstein was right, and that the newspapers were right. But in this journey of trying to discover the answer to the question, how is it possible that by increasing the energy of a proton you can increase its mass, I learned all about CERN. I learned about this beautiful side of physics, and I completely fell in love. So I decided to become a theoretical physicist. And honestly, when I started my university, my goal in physics, my goal in studying physics, was to understand enough physics to go to CERN as a tourist and be able to understand what tour guides are talking about. So you can imagine how thrilled I am when I got the position as a summer student at CERN. So that is my first position that I had at CERN. Once I was there, I spent 13 weeks doing research. I'll talk more about the program. And then I was offered to come back to join antimatter experiment called AEGIS. And that's what I did. So I held 2 other positions, short-term internship program at CERN, and technical student position at CERN. Once I became a Marie Curie Fellow, I continued my collaboration with the experiment as a corporation associate at CERN, and I still have ties with CERN, of course. So this webinar, we said multiple times, is going to cover student positions that you can apply for. I will also share some tips on applying for CERN positions. And then Lauren will talk about different routes to CERN. This should be around 1 hour, and then we will have time for Q&A for whoever wants to stay. What we also want to tell you is that we will send a document containing all the links and all the information, the key information that we share today with you on your emails in the next 10 days. We are quite busy, so we cannot promise to have that done this week, but you can expect it in the following weeks. So when it comes to student positions at CERN, this is what you can apply for. From summer student, open lab, technical, administrative, doctoral, Atlas PhD grant, and Marie Curie PhD. And now what we are going to do is go through eligibility criteria and all the benefits you get, and tips as well for each of these positions. So the first one is my favorite one. That is a summer student position. Oops, sorry. So this position is for bachelor or master students, so you cannot have a PhD. And this is for everyone in physics, engineering, computer science, or mathematics. When we say engineering, we cover like all kinds of engineering, and physics, it's experimental, theoretical, and applied physics as well. So the earliest that you can apply for this program is when you're on your 3rd year of studies. So that's very important. A lot of people apply on their 1st or 2nd and don't get accepted because they don't fulfill this criteria. So it's important that you have to stay registered as a student during your time at CERN. However, if you do finish your degree, for example, you're a master's student and you finish your degree by the summer that you're supposed to do your internship, that's fine. So you can do that after you completed your last year of studies. The next thing that we want to know is some of the other criteria, which is that you cannot be a summer student before, so you couldn't have been a summer student before, and you shouldn't have worked at CERN for more than 3 months. You should have a good knowledge of English, and French is an advantage, so make sure to put that as well. When it comes to the application, you put your level of English and French, so you don't have a certificate of any kind. And this is a position for all students, so regardless of where you come from, you are eligible to apply for this. And it's important to say that this is the most competitive CERN program. Every year, CERN has more than 3,000 applicants, and only around 300 students get accepted. When I was a summer student, we had 280 students. This is a project. Oh, sorry. So this is a project. And this is a position that lasts 8 to 13 weeks, depending on whether you are a member state or a non-member state. We will send in the document a link where you can check if you're from member state or non-member state, but you can also Google. So if you're a non-member state, you can stay 8 weeks, and that's the only option you have. If you are from a member state, you can stay 8 to 13 weeks. It's your choice. The summer student position is structured in a way that in the mornings you have lectures, and this is the world scientist giving you lectures on physics topics, and it's quite amazing. Actually, one of the lecturers is Lauren's supervisor, a PhD supervisor, and then in the afternoon you work on your project. So each one of you gets their own projects, you work on that, and you get to also visit different Cern experiments, go into tunnels where the accelerators are. So it's really, really amazing opportunity. And also you have an option to attend IT lectures. So for example, if you're a computer scientist who joins a summer student program, you can attend IT lectures. When we speak about the benefits, so this is a really good program. You get 90 francs per day. This includes weekends, and you don't pay any tax. You will get a travel allowance. Travel allowance, when I was a summer student, was paid at the end of my stay. I'm not sure how they're doing it right now. They were either paid at the beginning or at the end of your stay, but you will have to pay it initially yourself. And yeah, so that's something that everyone asks me, and I know it can be a bit challenging for some people finding this money, but you do get this money back, so you shouldn't worry. You also have insurance, so you will be given the best Swiss insurance, which is called Unica insurance, so you don't have to worry about that. And you will also have assistance when it comes to accommodation from Cern. There are 2 hostels at Cern, or you can choose a housing in nearby cities. I also have more information on that. I will send the links and talk about that a bit more later. So my personal view of the program is that was the place where I met the most amazing people ever. I literally made friends for life. With some, I even talk on daily basis with regular chats. And I think it's an amazing opportunity to meet people from different backgrounds, different cultures. You are exposed to incredible research. You do incredible research, but most importantly, you learn from incredible researchers. You have an opportunity to travel all around Europe. Weekends are free, so you don't work on the weekends. I personally visited the whole Switzerland, Southeast France, Germany, Northern Italy. We even went to Oktoberfest. For those who don't know, that's like a huge beer fest in Germany. So yeah, that was like extremely fun. There is a lot of summer student events. These events are organized mostly by summer students. So for those who follow me on Instagram know that I'm not really a party girl. I prefer being at home with a book, but I did attend all the events, all the parties, and it was so incredible. Like if you get this position, I advise you to attend all the events because it's just amazing. There is a huge cultural diversity. I met people from countries that I would never have a chance even like to visit or talk to them. And I can say that one of the biggest benefits of this program is just having friends around the world. I feel like I can go to any country now and have a couch to sleep on. Essentially, it's really amazing. Of course, the other benefit of this program is knowledge. Again, I said lectures, research, visits. So this is, you know this, like I don't have to explain this much. And another thing is that there is a huge supportive community. So we had a Facebook group among summer students. So don't be afraid if you don't know something, because people who had issues with a code or something, they would post on a Facebook group and everyone would try to help them out. And Cern is a supportive group, so you can always talk to HR or you can talk to your supervisor. In short, this was the best summer of my life, and I don't see how this can be beaten. But it was just truly amazing, and I cannot stress enough that you should apply for this program. The next one is Open Lab Summer Student Program. This program is very similar to Summer Student Program, but is computer-based. And the conditions are pretty much the same. You need to have a strong computing profile in order to apply for this project. And you still have to remain registered. You have to have 3 years of full-time study. So again, you can apply earliest when you're on your third year. The thing is, like, I had friends who were open lab summer students, and they were physicists. So if you're a physicist or an engineer, but a really, really good programmer, then you should definitely apply for this program as well. You can apply for both programs, and actually the application will open very soon in early December and will last until end of January. Again, when it comes to deadlines and everything, I'll mention that at the very end. So here the conditions are the same. You have not worked at CERN before, you were not a summer student, you have a good knowledge of English, of French, it's an advantage. This is also for students of all nationalities. And it is a competitive CERN program. I was not able to get like the exact number of applicants for this position because it really varies year to year. I think the most they had, it was like 1 year when they had like 1,000 applicants, around 1,000 applicants, but only 30 gets accepted. Usually there is a smaller amount of people who apply for this program than for a summer student program, and only 30 gets accepted. So this is to work 9 weeks on the advanced IT project during summer. This is quite a good project to be like if you have ambitions to work in IBM or Google, for example. I mean, if you work at CERN, this is like already a huge thing for your application to Google and IBM. Having this position in particular is advantages in a way that lectures that are held for you as part of this program are people who are from IBM or Google. You even get to visit Google office, you get to visit EPFL, which is a huge, one of the best universities in the world, which is very close to CERN. So it's more about like having contacts. And yeah, I think this is very good. And also you can attend summer student lectures. Now, I would just like to say something regarding these two positions in particular. And my advice would be to, if you get this position, just like take your time, don't stress about the project. When I was a summer student, somebody gave a talk. I'm not really sure who he is, but he said to us, like, don't be fooled. You cannot do much project-wise in the next 8 or 13 weeks. That is just a very short amount of time that you can have like to develop a project. So concentrate on meeting people, concentrate on getting to know each other, because in this room is the next Director General of CERN, next Nobel Prize winner, next lecturer at the MIT or Cambridge. So just meet your future colleagues, and that is my advice to you. Go there, meet people, learn how CERN works, and of course exploit this opportunity to learn as well as much as possible when it comes to science. But don't get like isolated. Try to meet people because they are your future colleagues. Benefits of these projects are exactly the same as a summer student, so I don't have to repeat myself, I guess. And if you have extra questions, you can ask them. When it comes to technical student position, this is, again, really amazing opportunity. For bachelor and master students, again, you cannot hold a PhD. And you should have completed at least 18 months of full-time studies at university level. So assume that's like a year and a half. And this is for applied physics, engineering, computer science, or mathematics. One tip, if you are experimental physicist, like I decided to change, so when I was a summer student, I decided to change from theoretical to experimental physics. So if you are experimental physicist, you can still apply for this program. Me and a few of my friends, all experimental physicists, we just said, yeah, we are applied physics. It's a very thin line between the two. So just put applied physics and you're good to go. And of course, you have to remain registered as a student. This is only for nationals of Cern member or associate member states, so this is not open for everyone. You will have to check whether you are eligible to apply for this. Because most people who apply for this project are master students, you can, like, if you're not eligible, pay attention to what Lauren is saying. Then you have, again, knowledge of English, advantage of French language, and you can work 4 to 12 months on the project, and you have a possibility to extend your stay for additional 2 months, which is what most people do, actually. My advice here is to, if you apply, mark as longer period as possible, because a supervisor would rather give a position to somebody who is going to stay for a whole year than for 4 months, because, as I said before, in order to really make a contribution to a project, it's better to stay as long as possible. This is also a very competitive Cern program. Again, I don't have exact information because the talent acquisition team didn't have this exact information to give me. But they said that around 300 students gets accepted every year. You have twice, you can apply for this technical studentship twice a year. And that's like in March, I think, and in September. A note when it comes to deadlines. In order for you to know at which, when the applications are open and when they close, pay a close attention to Cern website. There is also a Facebook page called Cern Jobs that you can join, and they will regularly update this. Also, Lauren and I on our Instagram pages as well, like always mention when the applications are open for every single position, and even for graduate students as well. And you can also like go to my website and register, like subscribe to newsletter, and then I will be sending you not only for Cern but for also all other opportunities. Benefits of these programs are amazing. You get over 3,000 francs per month. This is, again, you don't pay taxes. Travel allowance you get back on the first month alongside your salary. You get the insurance as well, and you have 2.5 days of paid leave each month, 2 weeks of Christmas, and days off for all national holidays. When I first read that I have only 2.5 days of paid leave, that doesn't include weekends, I thought it was too little. I felt like, how am I going to, like, I will not have enough time to rest. But it turns out that I wasn't able to spend these days. So that was my big problem. Like, when I'm going to take days off, I have to go on holiday, which is a very good problem to have, to be honest. When it comes to personal views on this program, so I became an expert in my field, which was allowed because I stayed for a longer period of time. This is more serious approach than when you are a summer student, because you go there to work. So that is a huge benefit that completely changed my course in career. This is a huge impact had a huge impact in my career. And I established science networks. So on the previous summer student position, I met people who were on my level of studies. So I met my colleagues that will in 10 years from now be established scientists. Here with this program, I established a science network within my expertise, within my area of expertise and my community. So I was able to interact with people from different levels, different seniority levels, and different experiments as well, see the differences, see the similarities, ask for advice. And this was a huge thing because it gave me an overview of my field and what I can expect. I also became a Cern tour guide, so this is something that you can do as well. So you can be the person who shows tourists different experiments. For me personally, this was a huge thing because, as I said at the beginning, my goal was to be a tourist. and being able to understand tour guides. So just 5 years later, I was a tour guide, and that was a huge thing in my life. I know it doesn't sound big, but it was like a symbolically, it was a very important part of my CERN journey. I did travel some more because you have all those vacation days and you have a lot more money. So I found a group of people who also love to travel, and we traveled quite a bit. And yeah, I made even more friends from now different programs. I met with my previous friends that I met at summer student school. So overall, it was a truly amazing experience. And as I said, I had great vacation days that you will not be able to spend. The next position is administrative student program. This is for bachelor or master students in administrative fields. Personally, I don't have much experience with this, but I did meet some people who had this position. I even met like some students from Serbia who applied for this and were able to like extend this over a few years' time. When I asked what administrative field means, essentially I was told this is everyone who has background in economy, law, international relations, communication, languages. My personal opinion on particularly this position is that if you fall into this category, I would advise to contact, because it's such a broad field that you can like apply to. My advice would be to contact specific groups at CERN. So if you want to work in communication, contact the communication group and express your interest in working with them, and ask them if they would have some position open, and then consult with them, and they will suggest you to apply for administrative student program. You can also apply yourself, which is an alternative, also really good. So go ahead with that. You will have to stay registered as a student as well. You have to be a national of CERN member or associate member state. You have to have good knowledge of English, and knowledge of French is an advantage. This is a program that is like from 2 to 12 months with a possibility to extend for 2 more months. And of course, like once you're at CERN, you will be able to like speak to these people and see if there is like opportunity to extend this even more. It is a competitive CERN program because you're competing against all these different universities for a position that's not essentially like clearly stated, unlike with technical program where you get like projects and stuff. So again, my advice would be to contact people, speak to them, and of course apply for this program as well. Benefits are the same as for the technical student program. So here, I would just like repeat myself, and that's a waste of time. Okay, let's go next. I will be sending all of this in the document as well. So when it comes to doctoral student program, you have started or about to start your PhD program in the university, so you have to have a bachelor or a master's degree. And your work at CERN is all or part of the thesis work required to obtain your PhD. So if you have a project at CERN, all this has to be included in your PhD thesis. And so CERN is not a body that can give you a degree. So they cannot give you a PhD degree. So you have to find a university with whom you are going to do your PhD. You have 2 options. You have an option to either find a university and then apply for doctoral student program, or apply for student program, and then if you get accepted within some group at CERN, then they will help you find a university. I know plenty of people who establish a contact with a group from CERN. They said, I'm interested in applying. They applied, and then the group decide to help them finding a university. You would be full-time based at CERN. for a period of 3 years, and of course you will be registered as a student. For this position, you have to be a national of CERN member or associate member state. You have to have good knowledge of English. French is an advantage. First, you do 6 months, and then you renew it for up to 3 years. This gives a group a chance to see how you fit within the group, and also gives you the chance to see if it's something that you want to continue doing or give up. So it's like your choice essentially as much as it's theirs. And they give you a possibility to spread these 36 months of full-time at CERN over 4 years, which gives you a time to like 12 months to spend at your university. That would be unpaid leave. This is also quite competitive CERN program, not as competitive as previous ones, but also very, very hard to get into this program. My advice is also to look for scholarships that are meant for CERN. For example, I know that Germany has a really good scholarship for PhD students, and Austria. The German one is more or less competitive. The one in Austria is not competitive. So if you're from Austria, make sure to apply for that, because you'll get to CERN way easier than Germans, for example. These are very important notes to say. So CERN cannot contribute to any costs related to your university, and CERN will not reimburse tuition fees. So if you enroll at university and you have to pay a university fee, CERN will not pay this fee. This is up to you. It's up to you finding scholarship, and up to you to find an agreement with university or supervisors. In most cases, this is negotiable, and supervisors, of course, have intention to help you, so that shouldn't be a big problem. And it's important to note that just because CERN PhD is 3 years, that doesn't mean that you have to complete your PhD in 3 years' time. These are the benefits. So you get 3,791 francs per month. Again, this is not taxable. Travel allowance is the same. CERN health insurance is the same, and days of paid leaves are the same. So this is really, really good program. I advise you to apply. Another one is, Atlas PhD grant. Atlas is one of the experiments at CERN, one of the main experiments of CERN, and they started giving these PhD grants. So this is everything like a PhD, doctorate program, except it's all nationalities are eligible. So everyone who wants to apply for this, it can. The other difference is that it's not 3 years, it's 1.5 years. So you can, for example, this is just an example, not a suggestion. So for example, you get Atlas PhD grant to do your PhD project, you get data and work on CERN full-time, and then you come back at your home institute and do, for example, data analysis and writing up your thesis. This is an option. This is a really good opportunity. So definitely apply. Benefits are exactly the same as for a PhD position. The difference is that it's less in time, less duration, and it's also for all nationalities. So it's not limited for where you are from. So Marie Curie Fellowship, so Marie Curie PhD, it's an amazing opportunity. You have to have a university degree, master's, or if you're applying for Marie Curie PhD in UK, bachelor degree is enough. And another condition is that you have to be in 4 years of your full-time research career. That means that if you complete your master's, immediately after you can apply. You cannot have a master's, for example, work in research for 5 years and then apply for this position. So this is for early career researchers. And you must not have a PhD yet, because this is the way you get a PhD. You will apply for a position in a European country, not at CERN. So you choose a European country where you did not live or work for more than 12 months in the last 3 years. In the application, you may select up to 3 positions of interest. So I hope this is clear. Essentially, you choose a country you want to apply for, you get a position, and then you're based at CERN as a Marie Curie PhD or Marie Curie Fellow. That's the other name for the position. For this, any nationality may apply. This is amazing opportunity for everyone. They do request proficiency in English, and it's a maximum of 36 months of employment contract. And yeah, it's the most competitive and prestigious European award for young researchers. So it's quite hard to get, but there are a lot of opportunities like this. So you would definitely have a chance. And especially like you have a chance for this position like once you are already at CERN. So if you are at the beginning of your career and you apply for summer student program, your chance to get a Marie Curie fellowship are increased because you have CERN in your CV, and that adds a lot of weight for everything that you apply in the future. These are benefits. So the salary is almost twice as much as a regular PhD student. That's because this position is called Marie Curie Fellowship, and at CERN you get a salary not based on your level, but rather on your position that you have at CERN. So a PhD student has a status of this person is a PhD student, but Marie Curie PhD student is considered a fellow. And fellows at CERN have higher salary, which is why this is a salary that you get as Marie Curie Fellow at CERN. Other things like travel allowance, CERN health insurance, and 2.5 days of paid leave are the same benefits as other stuff. So I actually hold this award, this Marie Curie Fellowship. I have it in UK, so I'm not based at CERN, which leads to some differences. But generally, the program is the same. You have a lot of training opportunities in your field. So you, besides your salary, you also get a huge funding to improve your skills, whether there be technical or soft skills training. So for example, I had trainings in grant writing, so how to look for funds, how to present stuff, how to write CVs, and all these kind of things. So it's overall a very good program. I even had a school on international management of projects, which is amazing thing. It's also a very good networking opportunity because all these programs are combination of different institutes and industries, and it's usually a program that has 15 fellows, for example, and then you are kind of a small class, let's say, that attends all the trainings together, travels together, and we are all on different positions in Europe. So that's truly amazing. Highly recommend this. Again, it's much easier to get this position once you obtain the earlier positions, but of course there are a lot of people who got this position without ever being at CERN. So that's that. I want to give you some application tips. So these are 4 questions that you have to keep in mind. So try to answer for yourself why I want to work at CERN. Think about what CERN is and think how you fit in that. What is it about CERN that makes you apply there? Why do you want to work there? And that's the question that you will answer in your motivation letter. So, for example, this is extreme case. CERN, everything that they do, nothing has to do with military. So that's one of the values of CERN as an institute. So if you, for example, come from a war-affected country, you can say that one of the reasons you want to work at CERN is because this particular value is close to your heart, because you know how damaging that can be, and you want to be a part of organization that understand the destruction of that, blah, 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 blah. The other thing that you need to know, and to answer the question, is what CERN can give to you. So as much as they're interested in your skill set, they want to know how giving you this position will affect your career. I was reading a lot of applications for CERN, and some people would write things like, oh, it would improve my French. But the reality is that if you want to improve your French, just go work in some restaurant in France and you will improve French. That's not a good enough reason to work at CERN. Like, just give them something in which way you being there is going to affect you as a person, as a scientist, as a researcher. Just give them this information. So really think about that. How you can contribute to them, that's another very important part. Think about the skill set, think about personal projects that you worked on, that you showed that you have this skill set. So that's another very, very important part. And this is also very separated in application. I'll explain that in a bit. We're almost done, I promise. And think about where you want to work, in a sense, like with which group you want to work with. I collected a lot of information on my blog, Tau Bytes. This is the link. I will also give this in the document that we are going to send you. You have all tips about writing motivation letters, which is connected to the question why. Tips on writing CVs. So this is something that I collected from also talking to people who were actually doing the recruiting. About experience and interest, this is important part, an important post, because it teaches you how to tell them about the skills you have. A lot of question I get, and I will probably get in the Q&A when I see you later, is like, can a mechanical engineer work on this? Or is there a project with dark matter, whatever? There is a thing called Grey Book, CERN Grey Book. I will send the link to that as well. It's also on this post called About Experience and Interests, where you can go and check all the projects and all publications from CERN. And you can, based on that, choose the project you want. You can even read about it and use that in your application. And there is also a post, once you get accepted to CERN, what you should know, like when it comes to your accommodation and whatnot. Also, I started getting a lot of questions about the interviews. So you don't have interviews for summer and open lab position, but you have interviews for technical studentship, administrative studentship, and PhD, of course. So I will be making a post as well explaining what you can do to prepare yourself for the interviews and what you can expect, essentially. These are some of the CERN help pages. This is Help Center at careers.cern is where you will go to apply and find all these positions. And there are some tips for applying from CERN themselves, so make sure to check that as well. Again, we are going to send everything to you. And yeah, I think that's it. Yes, now we will go back to Lauren. Oh my God, I spoke so much. So now will Lauren take over to tell you about different routes, and then we can have a Q&A. I'll check your questions now. Okay.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Milena. I'm going to talk about going into CERN via not applying directly to CERN, which, if you've ever been to CERN, you will notice that a lot of people don't actually work for CERN at all. They work for universities or institutions and you just get placed at Cern as part of that. So hopefully now you'll be able to see my screen. Milena, can you confirm that you can see that, just so that I don't start talking without people being able to see? I can't hear anything.
Oh, sorry, I shared. Sorry, I muted myself. I shared. Everything is fine. Sorry.
Yeah, see, okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So the question is, how did I get here to be working at Cern? So as I said, I am a PhD student working at the Lhcb experiment at Cern, despite what my helmet says in that picture. So I work in high energy physics, and so my background is in experimental physics analysis. So this presentation is kind of based on my experience, but equally the same applies for engineering and computer science. But yeah, I'll be talking mainly from a physics point of view. Most of the responses that we got to our Google forms were people who were interested in either high energy physics or nuclear physics. So yeah, I'll be talking from a physics perspective. So as well as these amazing opportunities that are offered by Cern directly, you can also work at Cern through your university. So I actually have never applied directly to Cern. So if you do apply for a studentship program or anything with Cern directly, as Milena has said, these programs are really competitive. So do not be disheartened if you don't get selected. There are other ways to join Cern through your university. So if you are at university at the minute, the first thing you'll need to do is complete your bachelor's degree in physics or in your STEM subject of interest. You can then apply to a university that has groups at Cern. And if you're already doing your master's, then you can apply to do a PhD at a university which has groups at Cern. So in terms of high energy physics, nuclear physics, there are four main Cern groups, which are the four main detector collaborations within Cern. So we have Lhcb, which is the best. No, I'm joking. Lhcb is the one that I work on, Atlas and CMS, and then Alice, which is a bit more tailored towards nuclear physics than particle physics. So which universities or groups, institutions have groups at Cern? The answer is hundreds all over the world. So as I said, if you walk into the Cern cafeteria, when you're there, the chances are 90% of the people there will not actually be employed by Cern directly. They will be employed or doing a degree via a university, and they'll just be based at Cern through that degree. So just for LHC groups, which are those four detector groups that I've shared in the last slide, there are 643 university groups all around the world. So I've actually listed here all of the universities that have groups at Cern. So you can have a look down the left-hand side for the country that you're in or the country that you want to study in. And then you can check out the universities that have Cern groups. So as I said, all over the world, we've got Algeria, Argentina, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belarus, Belgium, Bulgaria and Canada. We've then got Chile, China, Colombia, Croatia, Cuba, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Denmark, Ecuador, Egypt, Estonia and Finland. I'll send these slides around with the documents at the end as well, and I also give you the link to the website where I obtained all of this information. So more than within Europe, we've got France, Georgia, Germany, Greece, Hong Kong and Hungary. Loads of different universities within Germany. India, we've got several different universities in India that have Cern Groups. Indonesia, Iran, Ireland, Italy, JINR, Japan, Jordan, Kuwait, Latvia, Lebanon, Lithuania, Malaysia, Malta, Mexico, Montenegro, Morocco. So you'll get the idea. I'm going to stop reading out the countries now because you can read them for yourselves, but you'll get the idea that basically universities all over the world have Cern Groups, and it's just a case of finding a group that you want to work in, or finding a university that you want to work in, and then finding out which Cern Groups they have within that university. So finally, the UK and the US, United States, has hundreds of universities that you could apply to. So as I said at the beginning, that's just LHC groups. So that's just the Large Hadron Collider experiments, which are those 4 collaborations that I've spoken about. On top of those, we have 180 SPS groups, which is the Super Proton Synchrotron, which is also part of the CERN Accelerator Complex. We have 76 groups in the Proton Synchrotron, 74 AD groups, which is the antimatter decelerator, which Milena has done some work with. So that's not part of the LHC at all, but that's part of the CERN Accelerator Complex. There's other experiments going on within CERN as well, ESOLD, which has 237 groups around the world, and the Neutrino platform, which has 131. And there's even more than that. So as I said, I will send, as part of the post-webinar documentation, I'll send the link to the website where you can find all of the groups around the world that work within CERN. So there's 2 different approaches that you can take. You can either pick a university or institution that you know that you want to work in, and then you can see which CERN groups they're involved with. For example, they might have an Atlas group and they might have an AD group, but not all universities will have all of the groups at CERN. So you could do it that way, pick a university and then choose a group that you know that they have, or you can pick a CERN collaboration that you really want to be part of. Say you really want to work in the antimatter decelerator, then you can click on the antimatter decelerator and see which institutions have groups for that project. So just a bit of advice here for the stage that you're at. So if you're in high school at the minute, I'd advise you to take maths, physics, if you want to go into high energy physics, obviously, or if you want to go into nuclear physics, and computing, even if you want to go into physics. Computing, obviously, if you want to go into computing, and maths and physics if you want to go into engineering, and try to keep up with the latest news from CERN if it's something that you want to do in the future, which you can do via the CERN web pages. If you're in your undergrad at the minute, then you could consider applying to one of the opportunities that Milena has outlined already, because if you then want to apply to a master's or a PhD with a university that has a CERN group, that will obviously give you a huge benefit in your application to that institution. And if you get options for your modules, this is the same for undergrad and masters, then try and focus those towards particle physics if you want to go into high energy physics. Computing, for high energy physics, we mainly use C++ and Python. So if you get a chance to get some experience with those coding languages, that would be a huge benefit to you. And yeah, any theory courses that you can do, standard model theory or anything like that, would be hugely beneficial. Obviously, if you're in engineering, then the advice is slightly different. You don't need to take physics theory courses and stuff like that. But the idea is the same. Try and tailor your modules to the course that you would, or your future course that you'd like to do at CERN, be that a master's or a PhD. So it's different to the doctoral program that Milena outlined, because all of your funding and all of your agreements will happen directly with your institute or university. So you don't actually apply to Cern directly at all. Your funding and everything will be agreed with your university. You'll normally be paid a monthly budget, and then you'll get a travel budget for the time that you're on the project. So I'm in the UK, and I have, I think it's £4,000 to spend on travel over my PhD. So that covers my trips to and from Cern whenever I want to go, my accommodation when I'm out at Cern, and also all of the expenses I have when I'm out there, so food and drink and everything like that. If you choose to enter Cern this way, then your time can be based either at Cern or at your home institute, or you can split the time between both. Again, that's something that you need to agree with your university. Your contract will be with your university, not with Cern, but you'll get a Cern user account like everyone else, and you will be officially a Cern member. You have your Cern ID badge and everything. So yeah, you get your Cern account and you're part of Cern as a user. So the last thing that I'm going to go over is my own personal journey, just to give you an idea of how this works. So my own journey was, I started with a Bachelor of Science degree in physics with philosophy, and I did that at the University of Manchester quite a long time ago. I didn't do any computing at all, contrary to my own advice, but I did do a particle physics module and I absolutely loved it. But at the end of my bachelor's degree, I decided that I didn't want to be a student anymore. I wanted to get a job, and so I went into finance for a couple of years. I worked as an insurance broker in London, and after a couple of years doing that, I decided, okay, it was worth being a poor student for the sake of following my passion for physics. So I went back to university and started studying a master's degree in advanced high energy physics. So I applied to University College London to do this master's degree, and I was put onto the Atlas experiment. I jumped in at the deep end, very much so, because I had been out of education for quite a few years. It was a hard year because, as I said, I hadn't done any computing prior to that. I was put into the Atlas collaboration. I had to learn a lot very quickly, but it's just useful to know for people who have come out of education that you can always go back. It might be a bit hard, it might be a steep learning curve at the beginning, but it's definitely worth it if this is your passion and it's something that you want to do in the long term. So after my master's degree, I then applied to do a PhD on the Lhcb experiment at the University of Liverpool. So I joined the Lhcb team, which is where I am at the minute. And because of my master's degree, even though that was a hard year, it very much prepared me well for my PhD. So I fell back in love with particle physics, and I'm currently studying rare decays as part of my PhD. And my time at the moment is split between the UK and Cern. So I spent the first 6 months of my PhD, I spent in Liverpool in the UK, and then I spent a year out in Geneva, where I did shifts on the detector, and I did tours of the detector and everything. So I was very much involved in the running and everything to do with the Lhcb detector. And then when the Run 2 stopped at the end of last year, I was involved in the Cern Open Days, where we took people down to Lhcb to do tours and stuff like that. So it was really good to be hands-on part of the team. And yeah, don't feel that just because you're applying for a place with a university that you won't get to spend time at Cern, because you will. You can spend. It will depend on your university, but you can normally spend as much time as you want out in Geneva. So that's all from me. We'll go to the Q&A session now. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay, I put you live because you actually answered one of the questions that I saw, which was like, what was your route? But some people are also interested in what it's like working at CERN. So can you just tell them what it's like for you?
Yeah, sure. So if you're in high energy physics, the chances are that actually it's not that different whether you work at home or at CERN, just because most of your work is done online. So you'll be given an office at CERN and you go into work every day. Most of it is done just in your office. So if you're working in high energy physics, you're an analysis, you work in analysis. So you're not spending all of your time down with the particle detector. And besides, when the LHC is running, you're not actually allowed down there anyway because of the radiation. So yeah, most of it's done on the surface. You can do tours. So even when the LHC is running, I do tours. I am a tour guide, so I do shifts in the globe of science of the globe of science and innovation, where we talk to the public about what we do at CERN. And also you can do surface tours of the visitor centres and things like that. So yeah, the other thing about being at CERN directly is that you can attend what we have CERN colloquiums and talks and series given by people in all sorts of different collaborations at CERN in the main auditorium. So every Wednesday you can go and learn about something outside of your group, which is really useful. You also meet hundreds of people. Everyone's doing similar things to you. So you meet people from all different programs while you're there as well.
Somebody also asked if we can suggest like major or minor for a physics student to increase their chances of getting accepted at CERN. So maybe you covered that, and I will speak more about the questions related to the positions.
Yeah, okay, so I guess that's probably a question from the US. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about the US education system, but I would say if you have to pick one major, I would pick physics, and if you have to pick a minor, I'd pick maths. But again, I'm not too sure if...
Maybe also computer science.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to go into
minor, yeah.
If you have more than one minor option, then yeah, computer science or just programming in general would be really useful.
Okay. I'll switch to try and answer. Here is Tao. Wait, Tao, say hi to people. Here is Tao. So I saw some people that are from US. If you're from US and Canada and you're trying to apply for, if you're trying to apply for a summer student position, I think you have a special application process. So you would have to check that. I will send a link where you go to apply for each of the positions, and there should be information about that. Jorge from Mexico also asked if they can apply. I just went through all the positions. So Mexico is a non-member state country, which means that you are limited to summer student, open lab positions, and Atlas grant. But you can do what Lauren said, and you can actually apply through universities. So I had friends from Mexico who work at CERN, but they, for example, enrolled at a university in Germany or UK or America, and then that's how they got with CERN. So yeah, this was only for student opportunities, but when it comes to people who already graduated, you can go to careers.cern and look for positions for professionals. You have fellowships, senior and junior fellowships. So if you don't have a PhD, you can apply for junior fellowships. Some countries like Portugal and Spain have their own special ways to get to CERN as well. So check that as well. When it comes to age limit, there is no age limit. So I think you're not supposed to be above 65 years old, but you being 35, it's fine. Then there was a question. Just a second.
Maybe while you're looking, Milena,
Yeah.
one of the questions that I saw come up quite a lot was the impact of COVID-19 on the
Yes.
students. So, yes, it is announced at the minute that the 2021 summer students program will be entirely online. That's the view that we have at the minute, and I think that's what's being prepared for. But I would always say that we don't know the future. So we've had a lot of talk of a vaccine and stuff around Europe recently. So if COVID goes away by April, then that might change. One thing I would say is definitely do not withhold your application just because you are scared that it will be online, because you will still get hugely valuable experience. You will still get to meet people, even if it's virtually. You'll get to meet people that you wouldn't have got to meet otherwise, and you'll get all of the lecture series as you would if you were at CERN. I can imagine it would be a little bit disappointing that you wouldn't get to go to CERN, but as I said, do not let that discourage you. Don't let that stop you from applying, because if you get a place, then you've done extremely well, and it's always going to look good on future applications, regardless of whether you went to CERN or not.
For example, this year, students who got accepted to summer student program got their projects and a supervisor, so they actually from home worked on a project related to their subject. So that's how they were able to contribute. I'm sorry. There was a question about, do you need to pass any exams? No, there is no exams. There is only applications. For summer student applications, you don't need to go through an interview. When you're a technical student, you have to go through an interview. Somebody asked about Google Summer of Code project under CERN organization. No, that does not disqualify you from attending summer student or open lab program. Actually, it's an advantage. If you did that, if you can think of any other projects that you did, just write them in. Then when it came to if you can apply for multiple projects, at the same time, yes, you can. My advice is that if you're eligible, apply first for summer student position, which is going to open now, and then apply for technical student position in March. Because if you're a summer student, you can be a technical student, but if you're a technical student, you cannot be a summer student. So this is a big difference. I was also asked about material, like if there is any kind of like teaching material, some lectures that you can do to prepare. Well, not really. CERN does publish the CERN lectures from previous years. I will send a link to that. And actually on my website, I created like a page with resources with all the physics, math, and coding books that I personally use. There's also video lectures, and I also there link lectures from summer students. So you can check that as well. Somebody asked me if so they have digital communication leadership masters, if they can apply for admin positions. Yes, you can. There was Nick from University of Liverpool, who is engineering, does engineering, but is industry student. You can apply for technical studentship, for example, but as long as you are registered as a student, you can apply for any of these positions, essentially. Did you find any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question for you, which is, do we have to be very clear with the project that we want to do as a technical student, or will they guide you as to what kind of projects you can do?
Oh yeah, I also read something about that with summer student project. Okay, so for summer student, you don't choose a project. For summer student, so this is how the process goes, essentially. I'm not sure if I should share it, but here we go. So you apply, and the first round of application is HR. So they check if you are eligible, if all these criteria that I said are fulfilled. Sorry for my bad lighting, it's dark in UK now. So it's like if you are on third year of studies, if you have English knowledge, if you're still enrolled as a student, once you pass that, supervisors who have projects in mind, they look for candidates. They use keywords, they use different things to search for potential candidates, and they rank them. So they make a list of 10 students that they would like the most to work with them. Then they send this back to HR or to whomever. And then this is put in a special system that essentially distributes students because some students are asked by multiple supervisors, and there are things that they need to take into account. For example, the country, every country has a certain number of students that they can send. So you are not only competing against like globally with students, but also with students from your country. So if you come from a country like England, you will have a lot more students to compete with, but they will also offer more positions for your students. The same goes for India as well. For Serbia, for example, there is less people applying from Serbia, so your chances of getting in are a bit higher. When it comes, so you don't choose a project, you get assigned a supervisor, he sends you a project, and you decide whether you want to accept the project or not. If you don't accept the project, they will forward this position to somebody else after you. That's it. When it comes to technical student position, once you start applying, within your application, there is going to be a list of projects, and you can choose projects that you are interested in. At least this is how it was. What I just explained about how they choose students and like project-wise, when it comes to technical student, that's about it. But so technical student you can choose. Also, if you're unsure what the project is, you can always check the group. And I said you have a grade book Cern. You can just Google that, and it will take you to all the projects that are like related to Cern, and you can find something you like. Also, I saw a question, should we contact supervisors? Well, depends on the project, on the position you're applying for. If you apply for summer student position, I haven't heard anyone doing this, and I'm not sure that supervisors do that when it comes to summer students. So it's more like this established process of choosing students. If you want to apply for any other position, I would advise to search for a project that you like, then contact the supervisor and show them the initiative, because it's much higher chance that you will get accepted. For example, I was offered to come back during my summer studentship. I showed interest into antimatter, and I was offered to come back just by talking to potential supervisor, and he was like, yeah, sure, come. So I applied for technical studentship and I got it. So definitely look for supervisors, look for projects, and contact them. It will increase your chances. Is there any other question?
Yeah, so I can see a few. First, a very quick question is, which I can answer, is there a Cern newsletter or anything to keep me updated about the applications? There is a Cern newsletter called the Cern Bulletin, and that will keep you updated on what's going on at Cern. Not so much about the application deadlines, but you can follow, if you have Instagram, you can follow myself or Milena, and we'll keep you updated as the deadlines for the studentship programs. Also, as Milena mentioned earlier, Cern Jobs on Facebook will announce everything to do with these programs and the application deadlines as well. So if you have Facebook, you can follow those. Another question that I can see on here from George is, do people who get physics, masters, PhDs, are they bound to academia and research for the rest of their life? The answer is no. You don't have to stay in research, of course, if it's not something that you don't want to do. I personally am applying for postdocs at the minute because I want to stay in academia and I want to stay on Lhcb because I love it. So yeah, I'm hoping to stay on Lhcb. I want to stay in academia, but there is a big Cern Alumni Association. So if you've ever worked in Cern and left Cern, then there's a big association of people who have gone into industry, be it anything really, you know, software development or any kind of, there's a lot of computing jobs that people go into just because you get so much experience in programming if you're doing a physics PhD. So yeah, the short answer is no, you're not stuck forever. You can do whatever you want to do, really. I mean, you're looked at very highly by a lot of industries because you have a lot of experience in data analysis. So you have a lot of options, really, of what you can do afterwards. Another question that I saw quite early on is, what is a good level of English? So Milena obviously mentioned in a lot of her presentations that you have to have a good level of English to be able to apply. I would say if you followed this webinar and you've understood most of what we've said, then your level of English is very good and you shouldn't have a problem. Basically, everything within Cern is done in English. So all of the talks that are given in English. So I can imagine that having English as a second language, you have to be quite proficient because of the fact that there'll be a lot of technical terms that are given in English. So, you know, technical physics terms that you'll have to learn. I am fortunate in one sense that English is my first language. Most people at Cern, it isn't their first language, so I'm in awe of them all the time when people are, you know, giving complex physics talks and things in their second language. I think that's incredible. But yeah, I would say if you've managed to follow what we've said in this webinar, then your level of English is plenty good enough to apply for these programs.
There's a couple more questions that maybe we can answer. So, Amman, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Is there any preference among theoretical physics and applied physics undergrads? Yes. So, as a theoretical physicist, you have way less chance of getting accepted. For summer student position, there are some options for theoretical students. I personally had a friend who did a summer project in string theory. I know that a supersymmetry group, SUSI, also has summer students who are doing like theoretical physics. But it's really a thin line. So for summer student position, I think you can apply. but they do prefer applied physicists, which is why technical studentship is also like for applied physicists, but experimental physicists apply as well. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. And somebody asked about technical student program and university. And I think actually Lauren asked me that as well. So you would think about the project that you want to do within your bachelor or master's degree, and then you say to CERN that you want to schedule that time to be at CERN. In some cases, I know a lot of people who actually extended their university degree so they can work at CERN for a whole year. So they wouldn't do the final thing that they're supposed to do in order to get the master's. So it's really depending on your university, on the type of school you have. I think when you are a technical student, you can come for exams, like so you can go back at your university to take exams, and this is not taken from your days off. That's what I did, for example. So that's that. Let me see some other question. And also, thanks everyone who said that they liked my mug, and also to people who thanked us for having this webinar. We are not going to send any kind of like feedback thing, questionnaire stuff, because I personally hate doing them. So I don't want to bother you with that. But if you want, or if you can, just tell us how was this experience for you, if it was beneficial. Tell us what would you want to improve, or what kind of webinars you would like to see. I saw some suggestions in the Q&A thing. So yeah, just like feel free to write us an email. Any kind of feedback would be so welcomed. And I really hope this was useful to you. We will send also a document containing all information, and yeah. What importance does the GPA carry for selection? GPA is great, right, Lauren? Okay, so
it's your grade point average.
Okay, so I would say it depends, but it's not so important. So when I applied for summer student position, I had a very high like exam average, whatever, how it's called. But my supervisor and some of other people said that they don't even look at it. And when I was offered the technical student position, I was offered it on the spot. Like they said, do you want? And I was like, okay, should I like send my, my exams, like my grades? And they're like, I don't care about that. Essentially, like the culture, I think at CERN is more about how can you contribute to them and what skills you have. So if you can demonstrate that you have good skill set and that you applied this somewhere, like to projects, even personal projects, it's way more of an advantage than having a perfect score. Because in the end of the day, they're not going to ask you to write Maxwell's equations and solve Schrodinger equation. They're going to ask you to do something practical. And what they also want to see, and you should demonstrate that in your application, as that you are willing to learn. Nobody at CERN expects you to know stuff. Nobody expects you to have skills. So essentially, if you get a job at CERN, they assume, like, this is like exaggeration, but they assume you know nothing. So when you come there, they teach you everything. So they, if you know something, great. If you don't, they give you means and supervision to gain that skills. As I said, I come from a theoretical and mathematical background, physics background, and then I came as a technical student to work on experiment. which I had no experience, to work with antimatter, which I had no clue about. I just liked the topic, I was drawn to it, and I wanted to do it. So yeah, it's just important that you show them in your application that you're motivated, that there is something that Cern can give you by going there, and that you're willing to learn. Essentially, if you show that in the application, you are good to go. I mean, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get accepted, but it's a very good start.
Someone's asked another question about COVID, but just an interesting one about the start of the LHC. So if you have followed Cern and the general running of the LHC, you'll know that we are in long stock 2 at the minute, and we're about to start run 3. We were supposed to start run 3 next year. At the minute, it has been postponed, so run 3 should begin in February 2021 now. But all of the detectors are being upgraded at the minute, and as you can imagine with COVID, a lot of the hands-on work down in the pit, so underground, for the upgrade has had to stop. So yeah, at the minute the plan is February 2021. Hopefully we'll be up and running by then. But as I've said before, I mean, COVID is something that none of us anticipated, and it should not stop you from doing anything. So if you're looking to apply now to start a PhD or a master's next year, then you should do it. Do not delay just because there's been a delay with the run. You should still get some portion of run 3 as part of your master's or PhD. So yeah, hopefully if you start in September next year, then yeah, run 3 should begin a couple of months after you start.
There is a lot of questions that ask specifically about their area. For example, Yeomans asked me about geodesic. Is that how I pronounce it? A lot of people ask me about specific type of engineering. Well, the thing is that, as I said, you can look at all the projects that they have at Cern. I don't know every project, but I know where to look for them. So just Google Grey Book Cern, and it will lead you to all the projects. It's very versatile environment, so anyone can apply for different job positions. You just have to look. They need people from all areas, so that's the answer to all of those kind of questions. Remain registered. It means that, okay, so somebody is a third year of bachelor's and they're graduating in July 2021. As I said, sorry that it was not so clear. So if that's the case, you can still apply. So if you're graduating few months or before the summer student position or during the summer student position, that's fine. So you can still apply for that position.
Someone has asked how important it is to speak French to get a job at Cern. And I have to say, from personal experience, not important, because I don't speak a word of French. And I wish I did. I lived there for a year, and it's kind of ridiculous that I still haven't learned any French. But the whole of the Cern...
I mean, it's such a hard language. We have exception to exception to exception. It's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, as Milena said, it's an advantage to speak French just because you're going to be living in France or Switzerland, but French Switzerland, they all speak French in Meyran, in Geneva. So... yeah, it's an advantage, but within the gates of Cern, everything is in English. So, yeah, it's not necessary to speak French.
They always I always joke with my friends that CERN is like German company owned by Italians, and the official language is C++. Like everyone.
Yeah, we've actually had a couple of questions about coding languages as well. So I would say, if you want to go into high energy physics, which is what I do, we do everything in C++ and Python. I don't know any other coding languages. We use Root, which is CERN software. We use loads of specific software to your experiment, which I can't recommend because it depends whether you're on Lhcb or not. But that would just be something that you have to learn as and when you join CERN.
There is also a question, what if someone is a non-European nationality studying at a European university for a considerable amount of time? Can they apply for Marie Curie PhD? So the thing is, like, if you're from a non-member state country and you're studying at a member state university, for every position doesn't matter. So they look at your nationality. That's related to the fact that each country contributes like money-wise, so they give these positions to people who are essentially paid this like membership to CERN. If you want to apply for Marie Curie PhD, you can apply. Like, doesn't matter a nationality. It's you just cannot apply for a Marie Curie PhD at the university that you are in if you stay there for longer than 12 months in the last 3 years. And from your question, it seems like you are there for a long time. So you can apply for Marie Curie PhD, but in another country. And all the links to join programs are on CERN website and on the CERN page called CERN Jobs. And again, Lauren and I are going to send a document with all this information, and we are giving constant updates on our Instagram profiles. We written. Oh, I forgot. There was like one question that I was supposed to answer. Wait. Can you see my? Somebody asked me. Play from a current slide. Somebody asked me about short-term internship program. So when I spoke to Lauren, can you see the?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is overlapping. I'm really sorry. So when I spoke to talent acquisition team, they said not to mention this because it's not some position that they're like promoting much. But I put it in my presentation in case somebody asked, but I forgot to answer that. So short-term internship is for bachelor or master students. It's the same eligibility criteria. You need to remain registered. Sorry, this is like animation I didn't fix because I removed these slides and then just added them at the end, like 2 minutes before the webinar started. You have to be a national of CERN member or associate member state, and this is a project from 1 to 6 months, and you will need insurance cover. So you know how for other positions CERN provides insurance. For this, you will have to pay yourself. The thing is, once you apply for short-term internship program,
Milena, sorry to interrupt you, but they can't see your screen. I can see it, but they can't see your screen. I think it's just you that's live at the minute rather than your screen.
Sorry. Okay, I'll go back.
I think that's fine now. Yeah, the live is switched.
Okay, so the project, as I showed. Sorry. So, as I said, this is only for CERN national member state. The conditions are essentially the same as for summer and technical student position. I will include this information in a document. This project is 1 to 6 months, and that's it. As I said, you will not have insurance cover. the thing with this is that there is not particular time that you apply for this project. So essentially, you go now, you can apply for short-term internship, but because there is not a deadline, the only way that you will be taken to work on a project is if some supervisor goes and checks, because they need like a student for a short period of time. This is very hard to get, very rare, that happens like very rarely. And I think it's mostly like, for example, the way that I got the position is that I already got a supervisor. So my supervisor said, apply for this short-term internship so that I can get that position and then technical student position, so that he could keep me as long as possible because he wanted me on a project. So that's something that supervisors do. You can apply for this project, but it's very hard to get. And yeah, you only get like around 1,500 per month, which is a decent amount of money. You can survive, and this is like complementary allowance. So yeah, that's all from me. I'm not sure that I have anything else to add. We went way over time as well. Lauren, do you have anything to add or say?
No, I think we are, as you said, we've gone way over time. I've just posted my Instagram in the published. Milena, maybe you could post your @handle as well, just so that people can stay in touch with us. If you found this via Facebook, I know we announced it in the Cern Jobs page. So if you found this via Facebook and not directly through our Instagram pages, then if you have Instagram, it might be worth following myself and Milena so that you can keep up to date with everything and you can ask us more questions. We have had a huge amount, I don't know if you guys can see, but there's 696 questions. So we're really sorry if we haven't got round to your question. So yeah, it's just that would take us all night to go through all those, but I think that we've covered the majority of them in a general. Thank you very much to everyone who has come and joined us. We hope that you found it beneficial and that you've learnt about the opportunities that you can apply for. And yeah, that's all from us, really.
One thing that I would like just to add is for high school students, because we didn't answer to them anything. So for high school students, you have multiple competitions that you can attend that Cern organizes quite a lot. I'm not sure if they have some specific programs for high school students. I don't think so, but they do organize often the visits for high school students. At the moment, there is not happening, but yeah. If you have any extra additional questions, let us know. I agree with Lauren. She said everything that's important already. Please write us an email if you have any kind of feedback, and if there is some kind of similar webinar or more specific thing that you think we should talk about. Sorry for not answering to all your responses. And yeah, I guess we will see you at Cern.
We're hoping to do some more webinars soon, as this is our first joint venture, and yeah, we're very excited to do more and speak to you guys again. So yeah, see you at Cern, hopefully.
Yes. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.